sleek and elegant. I don't.
I didn't very good editing, so I had to do the outfit with the hair.
No, but I think it looks good.
No,
You always have
very
to.
reactive with my hair a lot. They said it happens when you have like rapid weight loss. So it's really, it's not noticeable to people, but when
You notice. Well, you have such thick hair. I feel like you kind of have like.
the texture changed. Like it's thin, it feels thin now.
Interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
sit next to me. I need
It's not smooth.
because mine changed after giving birth. I always had stick straight hair, and now I have wavy hair after having children.
I try not to watch it.
I saw Donna today and I left my swipe. I locked myself in. Donna, she's like, yeah. Can you let me know? And wish me and Jen luck tonight.
We're all about it.
I was texting her the other day because her daughter Victoria and Paige are besties, and someone got Paige's number. Someone on Victoria's friend list got Paige's number and has been texting and FaceTiming her. Right, and I'm like, Paige, who is this? And she's like,
Welcome and joyous Tuesday to the Marlboro Township Board of Education workshop meeting. It is April 12th, 2022, 7 p.m. at the Marlboro Memorial Middle School. Vin, good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
good evening,
Vin. And could you please do roll call, please?
Sure. Mrs. Amster?
Here.
Mrs. Branch?
Here.
Mr. Petruno?
Here.
Ms. Piernick?
Here.
Mrs. Rosado?
Here.
Mrs. Shrem? Mrs. Salaci?
Here.
Mrs. Strafasi?
Here.
And Dr. Heller?
Here. I'm now going to read Sunshine Law. Be advised that this meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 PL 1975, Sunshine Law, and that adequate notice of date, time, and agenda has been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the news transcript and has been posted and filed with the Marlboro Township Clerk. Copies have been sent to each school district or each district school and other area newspapers in accordance with the law. I'm not going to read in full, but we'll bring to your attention to statement of videotaping of public portion of Board of Education meetings, public comment statements, and no smoking or vaping on school grounds. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Positive quote. Just one small positive thought in the morning can change the whole day. The Dalai Lama. We're going to go to announcements. Dr. Hibbs, health curriculum discussion, please.
Yeah. Mr. Malone is going to tackle the health discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Liz.
You got it.
Good evening, Board of Ed, members of the community. First, before I begin, I would like to thank the curriculum committee, members of the curriculum committee, Mrs. Rosado, the chair, Mrs. Branch, Mrs. Salaci, and Dr. Hibbs. We convened an impromptu, actually two impromptu curriculum committee meetings within about 12 hours.
Yes.
So, one last night and one this morning. So thank you for your time. I'd also like to thank parents out there. I've spoken with less than 10, but more than 5. I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. And I really appreciate their time. I know they all expressed appreciation of my time as well, and really just allaying their fears from some of the issues that we've seen shared recently in the media. So we figured we would just share with the public, with the rest of the Board of Education as well, where we landed, what this actually means for Marlboro, because we can only really speak for us. We can't really speak for other school districts. So we just want to make sure that we're very clear on what we're doing here, knowing full well that the health curriculum was recently updated just give you a little bit more of an insight of some additional tweaks that we're going to be making. So the following slides really are going to address some of the concerns that have been raised recently regarding the 2020 New Jersey Department of Education standards. I know it might seem outdated to be talking about 2020 standards when we're in 2022. That's typical. The New Jersey Department of Education is typically a few years behind. So by the time they get through their own State Board of Education and the approval process, this is where we are. So if you're ever looking at standards in New Jersey, the 2020 standards are the latest and greatest. An important note, being that we are talking about health in particular tonight, I'll call it a non-core subject, right? So core subjects being English, math, science, social studies. Non-core subjects, health, phys ed, music, art. The way the Department of Ed organizes the non-core subject standards is they're by grade bands instead of individual grade levels. So the bands are up here for you that you can see. So there's a K2 band, there's a 3-5 band, there's a 6-8 band, and then the one that doesn't apply to us, which is a 9-12 band, well, with the exception of algebra and geometry. And it's also important to note when you see the upper end of the band, so let's call it K2, the mandate for us is to, by the end of that grade, so by the end of grade 2, you have to cover these standards. It could happen in K, it could happen in 1, but by the end of grade 2, it has to happen there, and so on and so forth, just to give you a little bit of background. So now you're going to see a series of concerns that either I personally have fielded or that has just been brought to our attention through some of our board members and the greater community. So on the left side is the concern. MTPS, again, this is a concern, this is not what we're doing. MTPS will teach grade K2 students about the topics of sexual orientation and gender identity. So we are not doing that. The standard, and if you take a look, see that second 2 right there? That means it's in the K2 band. So it's standard 2.1, and then by the end of grade 2, you have to teach the standard. So the standard is discuss the range of ways people express their gender and how gender role stereotypes may limit behavior. Notice, sexual orientation, gender identity does not exist here. Therefore, it doesn't exist in our curriculum. It will not exist in our classrooms in K through 2, period. Second concern, MTPS will teach grade K through 2 students about the topics of sexual orientation and gender identity. This specifically came up, I can't remember which day it was later last week, where I was first notified about it. It hit the media on many websites, I'm sure social media, all kinds of venues that it was posted to. And it actually referenced, it said second graders will be getting lessons related to gender identity. So the word related really there is a key word, because if you go back to the standard here where you talk about gender, well, they're saying, well, it could be related to gender identity, but it's really not. There's a little bit of play on words there. We continue to discuss gender in an age-appropriate way with our students. We've done that in the past, and we will continue to do that. Please know that in K through 2, that our teaching in our health curriculum, our health teachers, will not be addressing sexual orientation or gender identity at all in those grade levels. Okay. Another concern. MTPS will teach grades 3 through 5 students about the topic of sexual orientation and gender identity. This one's a little more complicated, and I hope I can help you understand it. So, notice here, the 5, right? Remember I told you about that 5 now is by the end of grade 5. So, In the grade band 3 through 5, sexual orientation and gender identity is mentioned. It is. In the standards, in the New Jersey Department of Education standards. It's that standard right there, 2.1.5. Differentiate between sexual orientation and gender identity. So let me just say something about that. So that's the mandated standard pushed down by the State Department of Education. We then here can apply and interpret that standard the way we see appropriate. One way that we can see it's appropriate is that it doesn't hit grades 3 or 4. So, in fact, the curriculum that was approved just recently, the health curriculum that was approved, in our typical fashion, it shows up in grade 3, it shows up in grade 4, and shows up in grade 5. So one of the changes we decided as a curriculum committee that we're going to do is we're actually just going to pull it out of grades 3 and 4. We know we have to teach it by grade 5. So it will land in grade 5. It will be a mere definition of both. What is gender identity? What is sexual orientation? It will be a definition, scripted and provided to the health teachers and with an instruction. There's no further discussion about this whole class. If a parent still has an issue with that, and we can fully understand that, we understand both sides. We want our child to be exposed to this, and we're okay with the definition. And even at that, it's not going to be a full-scale exploration. It's just going to be a definition. Or there's another side of the issue where I don't even want the definition discussed with my child. You always have that option through policy 5250 to be excused from that class without penalty. Now, the other thing that we're doing to assist parents in helping them understand how to go about doing that, oftentimes this comes up around this time of year. Things are crazy, it's spring break, and the next thing you know, your child comes home and talks about something that happened in health, or could, and it slipped your mind and it gets away from you. We're actually going to make it a lot easier for parents next year, starting in September. We're going to put it in the Genesis Parent Portal, or something similar to that, where you can actually, we can identify this standard that may raise some concerns on your end, and we can say to you, yes, you want your child to be exposed to this, or no, you do not. And if you do not, you're on the list, and your child is excused without penalty. I just talked about this, so this is basically policy 5250. I encourage you to read it. It's a very short policy, it's 3 paragraphs, it's very easy to understand. Concern. I've seen other districts planning to teach lessons to students in grades K through 2 on sexual orientation, gender identity, or related topics. I don't want this to happen in MTPS. Did that get? That's odd that got there. We have to talk about the actual. Oh, here we go. I don't know why that must have gotten reordered there. These are about the actual resources, right? So you may have seen, again, in some of the media outlets where I think I even heard it on the radio. I can't remember either. I heard it, read it, whatever it was. I've seen so much of this over the last week or so. There was a reference to inappropriate videos being shown, and Amaze, I have never even seen an Amaze video. That goes to show you that we don't have it here, but apparently Amaze is some kind of inappropriate video where students have been shown in other school districts related to this topic. It doesn't happen here. We vet all of our videos. Typically we use Brain Pop videos, which is a district-wide purchase. But any video that is presented to our students in any curriculum is vetted through us. This is another issue. I believe there was a Dropbox of curated documents, lesson plans from an organization called Advocates for You. So that's also circulating out lessons that, in my opinion, overstep some boundaries at certain grade levels. If you're going to be presenting them to, let's say, a second grader, we don't use this organization. We don't use any canned, pre-made lessons like that. And again, any instructional materials that are used are certainly vetted by us. I know this Board of Education before you, they check videos, they check documents. I know, sometimes curriculum's written in the summer, and then by the time September rolls around, October rolls around, video links go down. We find out from them, and then we go back and we update. So they do a really good job in reviewing that. This, I don't know if anybody saw this. This was from Senator Vin Gopal. So it's a pretty long post, and he was essentially responding to all of this consternation that's been going on in the public. I just really wanted to highlight this red area here. So he goes through, I read the articles and the guidelines, and he reached out to the Department of Education. In number 2, he basically starts out by saying, according to the Department of Ed, Commissioner, the guidelines are not mandated. So he starts with, they're not mandated. School districts can decide what to do, but yet underneath, and I think I saw one post that didn't include this, and then another post that included this, which really confused me. So I'm not quite sure if there was an amendment to this post, but the part that you really have to read underneath is the below in red is what's being required. It's just up to the districts on kind of what it looks like, and that's what I was saying before. We can kind of make it our own. We hit the standard, but we make it look like how we want it to look like in an age-appropriate fashion. And then he talks about diversity, equity, inclusion, tolerance, and he goes on and on and on about, again, sexual orientation, gender identity. So, again, is it required? It is required. You may have been a little deceived by the initial portion of that post. Reading the full post, we certainly can make it look like what we want it to look like, but just know that it's done in an age-appropriate manner and not in the very low grade levels. So, just to give you sort of the roadmap of, and again, I know these guides were approved and were worked on last summer, but again, we're doing just some fine-tuning now. So, we met over the last 24 hours twice, and we devised a plan. Our plan is we're going to revise, in step number 2 here, we're going to take a little revision of the health curriculum, the current health curriculum, and make those minor tweaks that I mentioned. The changes are all going to be brought just to the curriculum committee to make sure everyone's on the same page before it gets rolled out to the public and the full board. The community will also be notified of what we did. So this is what it looked like. This is now the new change. I spoke about policy 5250. You can certainly opt in and out of specific standards, and that will be a parental decision. And then honoring your decisions again. I'm sorry. This opt-out will be through Genesis, which will honor your decisions, whether you want your children to be exposed. So as any good teacher would do, just a very quick recap, right? K2. MTPS will not hold any discussions regarding sexual orientation, gender identity. Okay? 3 through 5, those really not even discussions. It will be a definition in grade 5 only. You, parents, will be at the helm, as Mrs. Rosado basically expressed at our curriculum committee meeting. She said, I want parents to be at the helm to really, make an informed decision about what their students are learning and really have that choice. So we're providing that choice to you. If anybody has any questions, I welcome you to reach out to me personally, mbalone@mtps.org. I'd be happy to certainly engage back or you can call my office. I've had great conversations with every single parent over the course of the last week or so. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balone. That was really formative. Thank you. And I appreciate the curriculum committee's hard work in the last several days. So thank you so much, seriously. So what?
I said Dana.
Day and a half, but thank you. So we're going to move on to discussion. Vinny, can you please speak about the 2022-23 school year budget memo number 3?
Sure. So we sent out the memo on March 25th to the board members, just stating that we heard back from the state regarding our Chapter 44 appeal. So we did receive a letter from the state, and the original decrease of $632,287 was overturned to be $81,003. So we were successful in appealing that, and it was a reduced rate. So they're only deducting $81,000 instead of $632,000. So with that, like I said previously, the budget will change and accordingly. So the net difference is $551,000 that'll be added back into the budget. And what we took to approve the tentative budget, we took from the health benefits. So we decreased it pretty significantly from what the anticipated increase was going to be of 10%. So we're just going to put that back where we originally took it out of. So you will see on April 26th at the public hearing a new revised amount, an increased amount by $551,000 for the total budget. And we will go over that in the presentation as well. The advertised budget is on April 20th. Again, we had to advertise the budget as what was submitted to the county, so you will see there's still the tentative numbers, but that is set to run in the circulars April 20th and online as well. Other than that, nothing else really changed. We're really waiting on the appeal to see what the determination was, but that was in our book successful since we were able to overturn it. They did not deem that as savings, but rather that was due to the health benefits decreasing. So really the only savings from Chapter 44 that they realized in our district was the $81,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Does anybody have any questions?
Randy, I just wanted to build upon what Michael was saying about the curriculum, and I just wanted to add on that we also discussed as a committee, I had brought up some concerns about the family life curriculum, because there is a family life curriculum in addition to the health curriculum, and after much discussion, it was determined that we are going to do away with and omit the family life curriculum altogether from MTPS website as well as lessons and instruction. And so we'll be revising the health curriculum in the upcoming months to make sure it reflects everything Mr. Balone had just spoken about.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you for the update on that. Anything with the budget, or did you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I just, real quick, I had just a couple things I was taking notes. When the, Mr. Balone, you said it was going to go to Genesis for like an opt-out, opt-in type thing. Can we just, I think there was some concerns when we did the initial survey last, I mean, I wasn't on the board at the time, but when we had the mask survey done about defaulting to an answer. So if we can, you know, perhaps see where it's going to be defaulted to on those so that there's no confusion when parents have to do that, you know, come the new school year in Genesis. If, you know, if we could just look into that, like to see where, if it's going to be defaulted to opt out or opt in, so that they know if they're just breezing through the forms before the school year starts.
I think Mr. Balone could answer that. Mr. Balone?
Sure. Yes, Mr. Pritchard, we don't know exactly what that looks like right now, but I remember that issue, and we'll take that into account. I don't know if we can do radio buttons, but we'll certainly look at that.
All right, thank you. And then also, like when so we can confirm then that these items, like they'll be struck completely, like they won't even be in the Marlboro curriculum, so parents wouldn't have to worry about, you know, it's there, but it's not being taught. You know, there's none of that. Like we're basically saying it's gone.
In those particular grade levels where the New Jersey Department of Education doesn't require it, it won't be there. But in, you know, like at the end of grade 5, like I said, gender identity and sexual orientation will be in the grade 5
Okay, but that'll be part of the opt-out, opt-in at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, perfect.
Had also mentioned that we were probably going to talk about, like, itemizing everything that parents could opt in or opt out about. I mean, it's something they're going to have to work through on the Genesis platform, but it was a discussion that we had last night as well as this morning.
Trish?
We also discussed that on the actual curriculum, the way that it's laid out, that we would be more specific in the language so that, because the bands is different, and I think that caused consternation before because it's in the document, but we're not teaching it. So we weren't teaching it. We're not going to teach it, even though it is, the verbiage is in there. It's not actually in our curriculum, but because of the way it lays out, it just is a little confusing to parents. So I know Mr. Malone and Dr. Hibbs, we talked about how to make it less confusing so that it's more direct, and that as a parent reading the document, it will be more apparent without you having to do, gymnastics to try to figure out what it actually means. So that's something that will happen, I believe, over the summer, and that's the type of stuff that will come through the curriculum committee, and then will come to the board. Did I state that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well,
Kathleen?
I had a question regarding, or two questions actually, Mr. Balone, like piggyback on what you said. For grades 6 through 8, I know it wasn't touched on, so two questions. Does policy 5250 still apply to those parents in those grades? That's question one. And question two is, will those grades, are they going to have lessons plans? Are they going to make the lesson plans? Are they following a script per se? Can teachers go off script? How does that work?
The standard you're talking about. So what we did with that one was very similar to what we're going to do here. We provided teachers with a script, moved that standard to grade 8 only, and but yes, parents can still opt out from policy 5250. Basically, policy 5250 is related to opting out of program, excusal from program, it's called, and it essentially deals with health education, sex education, family life, kind of bundles all of that together. In addition, dissections are also included in there. Some religions don't accept that as an acceptable practice. So, but yes, policy 5250. When we come up with our non-exhaustive list of possibly problematic standards, we may not come up with everything that someone out in the community said. Well, you know what? I know your list of 7. That's great, but I have 2 more. So my list would be 9. They still have the ability to opt out of the policy 5250.
Thank you.
Mr. Malone, how long have we had?
Trish, please. Just go.
Oh, I'm sorry. How long have we had 5250? Do you know on the books? Does anybody know?
Since I've been here, but I don't know, Mark.
I'm not certain. It says at the end of every,
Right, what year?
I can look it
every
up.
policy what year.
But we've had it for several years, right?
It's not a new policy.
It's not a new
Yeah.
policy. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Jill?
I have yet another question for Mr. Malone, sorry. Just thinking of it from a school, I don't know if Jessica had the same thoughts, like school counselor perspective, statistically, there are some students that are going to, identify as homosexual or transgender, and when we read the definition, just because the suicide rates for those kids are much higher than the other population, if they do have questions, or will there be an announcement made? I just don't want, I don't want any kids to fall through the cracks from a mental health perspective, so will they be able to guide and when the definition's given saying, if you have further questions, you can go to employee X?
Yeah, so typically the way that works, it's a case-by-case basis, and we engage our staff members, non-teaching staff members like counselors,
Right.
Psychologists, and we're lucky enough to have both gen ed psychologists and special ed psychologists in our district here. So they engage and help wrap services around any child who needs specific care. So yes, we wouldn't give the definition and sweep it under the carpet and say, you can't ask about this. It just wouldn't be a whole class discussion.
Right, no, that's great. That was my only question. Thank you.
I just wanted to answer the question that Trish asked, that 5250 was adopted on May 20th, 2014. In case anybody cares.
Thank you.
Anybody
Thank
else?
you.
Yeah, Valdo.
yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say thank you to Christina, the curriculum committee, Mr. Balone. As a, as a BOE member and a community member and a parent, I heard from quite a few community members. I had concerns myself, and I think that this was a fantastic move, and I really, truly appreciate, you guys spearheading this and taking care of this. Fantastic work. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, so we're going to go on to did you have anything, Dave? No. Okay. So, public comments. Those who wish to speak should state their full name and place of residence. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Please use the timer in front to be mindful of your time. Members of the public should be respectful and avoid back and forth or debate with administration, professionals, or board members responding to inquiry or comments. We will respond when necessary once the individual has completed their statements. Again, no back and forth. Be respectful and civil. Board members will withhold comments until after the public comments. Vin?
Sure. Brian, do we have the timer? Thank you. Okay, first up is Miss Antonella Benedictus.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Antonella Benedictus, guest drive. My son attends Marlboro Memorial Middle School. This evening, I would like to address my concerns connected to learning loss, homework, and rigorous instruction. Learning loss, to my understanding, has been addressed with after-school programs like RISE that were only for at-risk students. Please confirm that. To what extent has data shown from these programs thus far? Where are parents able to view these curriculums, and how are they located? How can we support families and students who are interested in summer support? Is there money in the budget to support this? My second point, homework. For the topic of homework, I see there is seldom. My son in particular only receives homework for math. I'm not quite sure why. Is this a district or school vision, or a teacher by student policy? With the issue of learning loss, I do feel that homework is essential, and not just any type of homework like worksheets or busy work, but work that connects to the community. I wonder how these connections would look long-term when bridged with rigorous instruction. My third point, rigor. I clearly do not see it evident in the Google Classroom. I will say that clearly as a parent, I don't see what goes on day to day. I've had many conversations with administrators about this thus far. Some assignments my son has had in the 6th grade are listing character traits, making a rap about planets, and several copy and paste PowerPoints. One in particular gave students 20 points for Google Images. I wonder if district officials have had the opportunity to visit Google Classrooms and link what they see to observations and data. Do we clearly see representation of 21st century skills in our classroom? I wonder what programs like The Leader in Me, Apple Training for Authentic Learning, and PBL workshops would do to enhance the Marlboro experience. What professional development opportunities have teachers been given to build on 21st century leadership so that all our students can benefit for the mantra of Marlboro Strong?
Thank you. Vin?
Sure. Next up is Mr. Jim Sage.
Jim Sage, Marlboro. This question is specifically addressed to Mr. Cavallero. On 3 separate occasions, March 13th, March 26th, and April 5th, I sent you an Oprah request. Customarily and routinely, you acknowledge them right away and you're telling me you're going to get back to me within 10 days, if not less. This time you didn't. So something's, I don't know why I'm not getting, you haven't offered the information. You haven't denied me the information. Unfortunately, I had to get the state involved. And it's unfortunate now because now it's going to go through the board attorney and probably cost a little extra now to get this resolved. What is the status of my Oprah request?
We're going to be answering comments at the end, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vin?
Sure. Next up is Mr. T.J. Sacham. Sorry if I mispronounced that. S-A-C-H-A-M. Okay. Next up is Miss Dana Varga.
Dana Verga, Municipal Drive, Marlboro. Okay. So I had a whole speech planned out. I was one of those parents that is totally concerned. I won't even lie about it. I'm one of the parents that got phone calls from my mother-in-law, from my friends who are teachers, from everyone and anyone, and let's be real, I was very nervous. So I just wanted to instead flip it from all of my questions to a general thank you to all of you, especially thank you to the curriculum committee. And I know my girl had plenty of questions out there, so thank you for being our voice. And I just want to state for the record, we're not terrible people for being concerned. I feel like there's so much out there on social media, like attacking anybody who's scared of this curriculum. We really just want to do what we think is best for our kids. Ooh, I'm gonna get emotional. So thank you for putting that out there. Thank you for advocating for us, and thanks to all of you for giving us a voice.
Thank you. Vin?
Sure. Next up is Mr. Sean McCauley.
Good evening, everyone. Sean McCauley, Union Hill Road. I wanted to first start off by thanking the board and the district for being transparent and quickly reacting to the misinformation being spread out there. I did, on that note, want to be informed a little bit about what the district has in the lane of units or lessons that focus on media literacy, dangers of echo chambers, and concentrate on author bias. It's so when those topics are covered and how robust they are. It has become clear that these topics are critically important to our children to understand the dangers they could be potentially exposed to online, social media, and news networks alike, but also within our community in attempts to combat misinformation that has been constantly repeated and shared in these meetings and online as well, as we've seen. It is crucial to ensure that our children are better than us in understanding these issues and knowing how to navigate around the common tropes that is misinformation. Thank you.
Thank you. Vin?
Sure. Next up is Mrs. Deborah Van Edom.
Deborah Van Edom, 25 McHugh Road, Morganville. First off, I had a big thing to say tonight. Obviously, that has changed in the last 38 minutes. Christina and the curriculum committee, thank you so much for listening to the parents and working to get to a happy medium where we follow the state standards, but doing what's best for our children. The one recommendation I was going to come to you with tonight was for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade health curriculum is maybe do a workshop with each of the individual grades. Obviously, 2nd, 3rd, 4th is out the window, but maybe do a workshop with the 5th grade parents separate from the board meeting where maybe one of the health teachers out of the elementary schools can walk through exactly what's going to be presented regarding gender identity and sexuality. Thank you.
Thank you. Vin?
Sure. Next up is Mrs. Irene Deckerman.
Irene Dekterman, Isabel Court. Thank you so much for listening to the concerns of the community. I feel like us parents are finally being heard, and we really appreciate it. And I just had a couple of follow-up questions. If a child does seek help from a guidance counselor or a teacher regarding anything concerning gender identity or fluidity or anything like that, will a parent be notified? And I have a question as to how do we ensure that these types of topics will be kept out of other classes, not just the health curriculum? And I'm kind of going off of things that I've read coming from not our district, but different districts, where you have a math question that says, and I'm kind of reading it right off of the math question, what is the ratio of 9 non-binary students to other genders? And this is a math question. So I'm just kind of wondering, how do we ensure that it doesn't flow into other areas of the curriculum just based on how the teacher likes to teach? Thank you.
Thank you. Vin?
I have another on my list. I have Miss Dana Verga and Dana Varga. I'm not sure. Okay. So no problem. So no one else is on the list.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion to close public comments. Do I have a second? Jill, any discussion? I see none. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, they're just raising
You have a,
Yeah, I had a question actually, just real quick.
well, we're going to be able. Oh, you want to? Make a comment. Yeah, go.
Yeah.
My mistake. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to just clarify the last comment from Ms. Deckerman. The items, I guess this is for Mr. Balone too, just if we can confirm, I know when we had spoken about the curriculum at the time that it was being voted on back in August or September, whatever, there was the talk about like having it sprinkled in, certain items that may or may not have been age appropriate were going to be sprinkled in to other areas aside from, health, life and health and, health. So I just want to confirm that that isn't going to take place with the revisions that, that we are going to see to vote about, to see in May.
So, sorry, standards in, the health standards will not show up in math class. Could I control every single question that a teacher poses to a child? No, but the training we provide our teachers know our audience, right? You should always know your audience, and they know our audience. They know our parents are involved. They know we have a very diverse community, right? That's what's so great about Marlboro. It is so diverse with so many different views. Our teachers are sensitive to that. So while I can't guarantee that you won't see a word problem question talking about anything, I would find that hard. I would be shocked if one of our teachers actually had something that would be sensitive to really any of our community members, because they're so well trained in what our community looks like, in being so diverse. So, again, Mrs. Deckerman and Mr. Petruno, I can't stand here and say that will never ever happen, but I would be shocked if it did. And that's really the best answer I can give you. I can't be in 450 classrooms every day, but when problems arise, we hear about it and we address it.
So,
and then no sprinkle, Mr. Paterno.
I just want
No sprinkle.
No sprinkle.
All right, we'll get
So
that in
what I
writing,
want
right?
to do, if everybody doesn't mind, I need to first close out the public speaking.
Okay, yeah, I'm
So
confused.
I wanted to know, we had a second, first we had a second from Jill.
second.
Okay.
I'm still here.
And then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, the ayes have it. Now, in addition to Aldo, Would any administrator or board member like to make any comments? Or respond to any questions? Christina?
I just wanted to mention, I know what Aldo was saying, because I did bring that up in curriculum meeting, and I was told, just like Mr. Balone said, it's not, and Dr. Hibbs, it's not going to be sprinkled throughout, but like, again, my concern was always, and I expressed this as well, that I'm a teacher myself, so teachers have the liberty to do what they want to do. That's in any district across the world. It's just up to teacher choice. I think that's why when we had this discussion as a committee, we discussed how the health curriculum lessons would be scripted so that there will be no off-book or using of resources like Advocates for Youth or Amaze, like they all mentioned before. In response to what Ms. Venedum said, I think that's a fantastic idea about having a workshop for parents. I think that parents want to feel informed. I just think that's a great idea. A little knowledge never hurt anyone.
Thank you. Trish?
So just to piggyback the workshop for the parents, I know I've been, as a middle school mom, I've been to a ton of workshops that I don't think were necessarily driven by the board, but definitely by, Dr. A and that team that have, I guess really maybe it was Dr. Hibbs, I don't know, with all that great training about social media and how to navigate that. And I would just offer that if we were to do it for 5th grade, we need to do it for 6, 7, and 8. We shouldn't just focus on elementary because the middle schoolers, the curriculum obviously gets even more detailed. And so if we're going to do a workshop, which I do agree is a good idea because knowledge is power, and I think that could be something that we should look to do. And can I just go down the list? Is that all right? And so to Dana Verga, I don't know what you saw on social media, but you should never, you're a concerned parent. We are concerned parents, so please don't, I don't know what you're reading online, but I would venture to say that it's no one sitting at this dais that would say, why are you concerned? We're all concerned, that's why we're here. So again, it's not us against them. The board, we are community members and parents, and we have concerns as well, and we want to address those concerns. And so that's why we encourage you to talk to us, to bring it to our attention, and to help us help you, because that is our job. That's why you elected all of us, not just one or two, or all of us. We're all here for you. So, so just please know that. I think Dr. Hibbs, you're going to talk about what kind of training do our teachers get for the 21st century. I know I wrote some of that stuff down because I've seen some of that training and it's pretty amazing. So, and then I also would love. Sean McCauley, I think you mentioned something about media literacy and bias and how we train our kids. I don't know if that's in any of our curriculum. I know that my son has had some experiences in middle school talking about that, but that's, I think, more and more critically important that we arm our kids with that kind of knowledge, because it's misinformation, disinformation, whatever the language is, it's important that we give our kids the skills and give ourselves the skills, honestly, to understand it and to react to it better. So I think that's all my comments.
Dr. Hibbs or Vinny, did you want to?
Sure. So I just wanted to address the GRC complaint that Mr. Sage had mentioned. So that was what we communicated to you this afternoon regarding what we received this morning. It is being claimed that an Oprah request was sent March 13th, I believe March 25th, and April 5th. Unfortunately, the district never received that request. We did do a search on a web filter and it did show that it was rejected, and it was never received by myself, Mrs. Jelinsky. I believe there was someone else that was sent to it. So we are in the process of answering that complaint. I do just ask Mr. Sage, we've had a great working relationship since I began here regarding Oprah requests. I've always answered him in a responsive and timely manner. So if I did not answer to this request, I find it odd why someone wouldn't follow up and just, shoot me a call or drop it off at in the mailbox at the receptionist, and we would have definitely taken care of it. So Going forward, my extension 6016, you have any concerns about an Oprah request or anything outstanding, you know, I pride myself on getting back to people as soon as I can, and I know most of you can attest to that. So if Mr. Sage would like to file his request again, we will certainly address it, and we will certainly answer the Oprah request. We will be filing a response to the GRC regarding that we never received it. We were in communication with them this morning as well regarding that. And the supporting documentation was provided showing that it was rejected, and we did not receive it.
Can I just also
well,
piggyback?
first I want to just say thank you for the clarification. I'll have Trish and then Christina.
You know, Vinny, you've always been quite responsive, and so you know, if you are not getting the information, Mr. Sage, you know, made a comment about, you know, now it's going to cost lawyers because you didn't respond. I mean, give people the benefit of the doubt. If you've had good communications with people, and then all of a sudden you're radio silence, obviously there's an issue. And instead of then just filing a complaint, which does include then us having to do lawyers' fees, if you're concerned about that, which I'm concerned about that, then please do the district better and reach out instead of filing a grievance when I think just that would be the nice thing to do.
Christina?
I just have a question because I'm not familiar with the process of an Oprah request. So if someone files it, he has to refile it if it was rejected, or just like, is it out in?
The custodian of records never received it. I can't honor the request.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Aldo?
Yeah, how does, and forgive me because I'm not really like as tech savvy as some of you sitting up here, but the filter, like, so how does that work? Like, you're able to provide a report showing that that was in fact the case, so that there's no like misunderstanding?
Well, when I received the complaint, I just have our tech department run a search to see if it was ever received by anywhere to and from that email address. Nothing came up. I had them do a deeper dive into seeing the spam folders or if anything was possibly rejected. So we do one search seeing if anything was received. Do we have anything in our servers that we can obtain? If not, then he does a search to see if anything was rejected, so a report, and it showed that it was rejected 3 times, which would be the 3 dates that he claimed he had sent it.
And Ben, you supplied that point,
I did.
that report as well, right?
Okay, yeah, I didn't, so you are able to get a report on it
Yeah.
then, so,
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody on any side? No?
Yeah, I'll
got
go.
anything? Okay.
Yeah. Antonella, I only got a B for your last name. Can you say it again for me? Your last name? Ms. Benedictus. So you had a lot of questions, which traverses, I think, Michael's office, the building. I'm going to have a joint phone call and give you more attention than you're going to get in just a quick description here. Yeah, not a problem. And it's about the data, you know, who can view, summer support, your homework concerns, learning loss, rigor, Google Classroom and links to observations, 21st century skills, PD opportunities. We'll address all that. I got it all down. My hand hurt. You did a good job. Mr. Sage was addressed by Vinny. Dana, thank you for your thank you. Sean, you know, Mike, you want to take a sec and talk about what we do for media literacy and essentially how we prepare our kids to navigate the world of social media and misinformation and, quite frankly, rudeness?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of work around that, Mr. McCauley. I think it would probably better serve you, you know, instead of spending several minutes here, you know, talking about every little thing we do. I'd like to connect with you, along with Morgan Gross, our supervisor, in that domain, so we can really, you had some pretty specific questions about echo chambers, and so we can certainly talk about that. I think you also, was it your question about 21st century skills? No, it was someone else. Okay. So in terms of, if you wouldn't mind, I'll address that question. So our staff members, first of all, our new staff members are required to come, yes, in August without pay for very extensive training, not only on instructional practices, but also technology. So it level sets everybody coming into the district so they understand what the expectations are in September. Then we have turnkey trainers for all of our staff members who are experts in a certain program, device, You name it, anything tech, they are the tech gurus and the go-tos who get paid a stipend through our federal grant money, and they train our staff constantly throughout the year. They hold before and after school sessions, and any staff member can sign up for that. We also have 3 full professional pro days that encompass technology professional development as well. Teachers also they have the ability to go to 2 outside professional development opportunities. I can't promise you they're all tech, and they're not, but they could be. We also hold a Google Summit because we're a Google reference district, so we provide PD not only to our own staff, but to other staff in our area, typically within the county. Those are some of the big ticket items. Again, if you have any further questions regarding that, we can connect. I know Dr. Hibbs said we'll connect, and I can certainly include Mrs. Gross in on that as well, because that traverses her way.
Mrs. Venetum, great suggestion. We'll see what we can make that look like. It might even make sense to actually hold maybe even a town hall discussion about all of the health standard changes, so that everyone could be in one space, do it through maybe Zoom, and that way parents could ask questions, we could present what we're going to do, because every change that's going to be made will come to you first, so you can see it, digest it, and that might give us all a safe space to have a good conversation on what those changes are. So, good. No worries. Mrs. Deckerman, so I'll just quickly reiterate or iterate again the concept of the topics in other classes. This is always an interesting conversation, and as Mike said, we have a great staff, so if we say to them, this is where we want you to be, we really believe that's where they'll be. In the end, could conversations turn? Yeah, they could, just like in really any situation that could happen, but we have an amazing staff, so if we say, please do this, I think that's what will happen. As far as your question of if a child seeks help, we're always, always, always going to do what we think is best for the child. So if we need to engage in a conversation for the health and safety and well-being of any child, that is always what we'll do. Sometimes the parent may be notified, other times maybe not. It would be on a case-by-case basis. And then just to reiterate, I just want to make sure I hit it. I kind of got out no sprinkle, but Mr. Petrino, your question was, were they going to be woven in? And the answer was definitely not. Definitely not. Sorry.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Oh, Aldo?
Yeah, I just wanted to see, Dr. Hibbs, would it be possible, actually, I'm not sure, would you be the proper person to ask, but for the items that Mr. McCauley had brought up, misinformation, those like that type of stuff from social media and all that, is that something we could possibly add to the Communications Committee agenda to discuss also?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we're going to move on to harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Dr. Hibbs, harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report for March 17th to April 6, 2022.
4 incidents, sir.
Okay. Approval of minutes resolution. Trish, can you please read approval of minutes?
Be it resolved that the minutes of the following meetings to be approved as submitted: March 8th, workshop executive. I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Who is that? I'm sorry. Oh, just a second. Do I have any discussion? I see no discussion. Vinny, roll call, please.
Sure. Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
Mrs. Salaci?
Yes.
Mrs. Strafasi?
Yes.
Mrs. Amster?
Yes.
Mr. Petrino?
Yes.
Ms. Piernick?
Yes.
Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
And Dr. Heller?
Yes. Aldo, can you please read financial and business operation matters?
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, harassment, intimidation, bullying report. 2, home instruction. 3, amended resolution, ESC NJ contract purchase, BioShine for custodial supplies and related services for the 21-22 school year. 4, ESCNJ contract purchase, Allied Fire and Safety Equipment Company for fire sprinkler repairs and related services for the 21-22 school year. 5, submission of child assault prevention, CAP application for the 22-23 school year. I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Kathleen, second. Do I have any discussion? I see none. Vin, roll call, please.
Sure. Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
Ms. Piernick?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosato?
Yes.
Mrs. Salachi?
Yes.
Mrs. Strafasi?
Yes.
Mrs. Amster?
Yes.
Mr. Petruno?
Yes.
And Dr. Heller?
Yes. Jess, can you please read policy development and community relation matters?
Sure. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolution for approval. 1, amended resolution, building and grounds 22-23 school year, holiday calendar. I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jill? Jill, second. Do I have any discussion? I see none. Vinny, roll call, please.
Sure. Mrs. Amster?
Yes.
Mrs. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Petruno?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosato?
Yes.
Mrs. Salachi?
Yes.
Mrs. Strafasi?
Yes.
Ms. Piernick?
Yes.
And Dr. Heller?
Yes. We're going to move on to school liaisons report. Typically we were doing this every regular board meeting. Last time that we had this type of meeting, some individuals wanted to talk about that. So if you want to talk about that, it's you're welcome to talk about your school, or then we'll talk about it in 2 weeks from then. So I'll just leave it open. Anybody want to say anything?
Yes.
Jess? Okay.
Early
you can talk
Learning
about
Center.
that.
Early Learning Center is having a spirit night at Chick-fil-A, so please visit Chick-fil-A tomorrow so that our school gets a portion of the proceeds. Make sure you get your yearbook orders in. They're due this week. And spring parties on Thursday at the Early Learning Center. Also, Scope has partnered with the Marlboro Education Foundation, and there will be a walk on Thursday the 14th, so please send in your children with some change for the buckets.
Did anybody else want to answer this? Oh, Kathleen?
So MMS, Telescope Night was canceled again last night for low visibility. So the first and second night was both canceled, and they're trying to reschedule it for the end of the school year. Spring break, yay, starts Friday the 15th through the 24th. Everybody enjoy. Another Krispy Kreme donut fundraiser. The deadline is the 14th.
You're killing me.
8th grade dance committee is having a raffle, spring break 50-50 raffle. Deadline is also the 14th. Look for upcoming events, Mother's Day and Father's Day raffles, Moe's Tacos kits, and also lawn signs for graduation coming up. Spring clothing drive is on the 30th of this month, 12 to 2 in the parking lot. The next meeting is May 10th at 9:45. And as always, if you have any questions, marlboromiddlepto@gmail.com.
Thank you. Christina?
Yes, I just wanted to report, I spoke with Ms. Green at Robertsville. Coming up in May, we have a planned sale May 7th. The PTO book fair is the week of May 9th. May 18th will be the art show, and the walkathon is on May 27th. They're also working on preparing in June for the 5th grade picnic, the moving up ceremony, and field day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Defino.
Thank
So Defino has a lot going on. We have Lip Sync, which is going to be April 29th. They're working on staff appreciation. Their yearbook and their boosters deadline is this Friday. So get those orders in. Their PTA executive board has openings, so if you're interested, please sign up. And then their spring concert is May 18th from 6:30 to 7:30. 5th grade, they have their picnic on May 27th. They have their graduation on June 15th, and they'll be doing a yearbook signing. Then they have on May 7th, they're going to have their fun run and field day on June 20th. They have a lot going on.
They do.
It's exciting stuff.
Yes. Anybody else? Yes, Joe.
All right, the Dugan Dragons had their STEM and Family Science Fair last night. Tomorrow is Pirate and Princess Day, so, you know, Dr. Hibbs, Mr. Balone, if you happen to stop by, make sure you have your gear. Also, yearbooks are still on sale. And we're having a greeting card drive so that, you know, when your kid's invited to a party, you actually have a card, because as I don't know about other moms, but I buy the gift, I'm so great, and then the last second I realize I forget a card. So I am very grateful for that. Oh, and our PTA meeting is tomorrow night in person at the Dugan Cafetorium at 7:30. Yearbooks are still on sale. And let's see here. Make sure I have everything. You know about spring break. No, everybody knows about spring break. And I think last day to order a yearbook is February, sorry, listen to me. This is why we need a spring break. April 18th, not February. So thank you.
Anybody else?
I have the Memorial Middle School, the Spirit Wear sales for the rising sixth graders that will be closing on April 30th. You can buy hoodies and t-shirts. The hoodies are $25 and the t-shirts are $15. They also have the 8th grade beach towel order form that you can get on their PTO website. That closes April 29th. And the staff appreciation luncheon, you can sign up to, you know, to do the luncheon if you want to make a donation or anything like that. They have a sign up on their form, and that will close May 1st. That's it. Oh, the shopper cards, Route 9 shopper cards, sorry. That's still open too. They're $20 if you'd like to purchase those.
Anybody else? So, it's not even on. So we're going to move on to old business. Anyone have any old business?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I didn't know if it was old business or new business, so I'm just going to throw
Just
it out
go
here.
with it.
School plays. They were amazing. I came here to Memorial, and they were awesome. They did Shrek. The kids are, they were, I was in awe. Both my children were in awe. They loved it. And then we went to Marlboro Middle. I mean, they were fantastic. So good, so amazing. I'm so impressed with how well these kids did in the play. It was awesome. If you didn't get to see it, you'll have to go next year, because they are really, truly awesome and talented. I couldn't believe it. It was so good.
I do have a. Do those get videotaped or
I think they do, don't they, Mike?
Well, a parent used to do it like unofficially, and then they would share the link with a parent. You know, with
Unofficial, so
the
we should probably not
parents,
talk
and
about that.
they would go on them. Not that I would know anything about
so
that, but yeah, like go on the middle school page. You have to be careful. I just know this with my daughter, who started off in middle school and then did FPAC and now doing college performances and whatnot, and now professional performances. You can't just like video, unfortunately, because of copyright laws. So, but you can if a parent decided to video the show and then they send a private link, which the parents use, and then download, that's acceptable.
Yeah, I'll ask.
Well, that's what I was just going to piggyback, because if we can somehow through the administration, because I'm piggybacking on what you said, you know, you have grandparents or aunts and uncles or anybody else who's outside the town who certainly would like to see it. So if there was a coding that could be used for privacy purposes.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk to a guy named James Strafasi, because he's the one who kind of like he was always very sweet and would film it for all the parents and send a link to the parents and grandparents. And
I'll ask.
He was really great about going to all the shows and editing it so that the kids would be the best scenes, the best light. It was a good thing. He's a good egg, you know.
My 3-year-old was captivated the whole time, so kudos to them. Kudos to the teachers who put it together.
Yes, absolutely. Hard work for teachers and kids, absolutely. All staff and kids.
But thank you very much. We're going to move on to new business.
Actually, I just had a quick question. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, like how everything works with the old business and new business. I had a question actually for Mr. Zittimer, if you don't mind. Sure. A couple meetings ago, I had brought up the motion about the policy committee, and we had, you know, it got reverted back. We tabled it. Randy had made a motion. How does that work now? Is that dead, or does it still need to come back? Because, like, we had the discussion. You weren't at the, we had Joe last time, so I didn't want to bring it up then because he kind of wasn't in the know, so I just wanted to see what.
So when a motion is tabled, a particular motion is tabled, somebody at some point in the future has the right to bring it back from the table to the floor for further consideration. So again, at some point, it's not necessarily, to use your words, dead. Presumably it went to the committee, and then either the committee can advance it back to the board, or somebody can make a motion to bring back from the table whatever it was that was tabled. Does that make sense?
Okay, because I mean, so we never like voted on it. So do we not vote on it until I bring it up then?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
been tabled to the committee, and at some point in the future, you or anybody else could bring it back to the table for further consideration, vote, discussion, whatever the case may be, or the committee on its own, based on it being sent to the committee, may on its own bring it back as a future agenda item. I don't know the status personally.
Okay,
But
yeah.
That's process-wise what would happen.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other old business? No? Okay. Anyone new business? I see none. We are going to move to our second public comments. Those who wish to speak should state their their full name, and their place of residence. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Please use the timer in front to be mindful of your time. Members of the public should be respectful and avoid back and forth or debate with administration, professionals, or board members responding to the inquiry or comments. We will respond when necessary once the individual has completed their statement. Again, no back and forth. Be respectful and civil. School board members will withhold comment until after public comments. Vin?
Sure. First up is Mr. John Adley.
Good evening. John Adley, Peregrine Drive, Marlboro. So coming here today, my 5th grader asked me, "Where you going, Daddy?" And I said, "I'm going to attend the BOE." She said, "Can you tell him, please, my backpack is very heavy." And I told her that I told him that already in December, but I'll remind him again. Please look into that. Dr. Hibbs, you promised me you're going to look into the kids coming into the school and with their backpacks. So if we can do anything about that, that would be great for the kids. My second comment, Mr. Ballone, thank you for what you shared earlier in the meeting. You deserve credit when credit is due, so thank you both for doing that. Also, I second the suggestion that instead of opting out, to do the default as opt out and the choice as opt in. That would go a long way into calming the parents' concerns about this curriculum. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Vin, please.
Sure. Next up is Mr. Moshe Grant. Okay. Next up is Mrs. Deborah Venedum.
I really should write things down. Deborah Venedum, 25 McHugh Road. Maybe about 2 weeks ago on some of the school pages, I saw that the substitute company was hiring. How is that going? Are we still facing a shortage? But because I found it troubling that it was posted on some of the PTA pages that they were hiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Vin?
Sure. Next up is Mrs. Bonnie Gabazon.
Bonnie Gabazon, 2 Harvest Court, Marlboro. I want to thank you for a very appropriate response to the concerns regarding the state-mandated standards. That was really an expression of exercising a fair amount of local control in a way that is responsive to our community, and it was wonderful to see. Mr. Ballone, I appreciated your answer in regard to not being able to be in every classroom all the time. I just want to say that Marlboro teachers are and always have been, since I've been in this district, a saving grace of the district, regardless of what was going on at the state, regardless of testing issues and all of that we've been through in the past. There is and continues to be a great confidence in them. We know the Marlboro School District holds very high professional standards and provides very good professional development opportunities to maintain those standards, and we appreciate that. Thirdly, I want to say that just because many parents were opposed to the formally planned implementation of some of the state standards does not mean that they are not concerned with the emotional and social well-being of all the students in the district. I just want to put a reminder and an emphasis on the continued work in anti-bullying and tolerance and outreach opportunities for students who need any kind of help or private discussions with whoever. One thing that just came to mind when I mentioned the bullying is something that I've always thought could be more a part of the bullying conversation is the flip side of it, and it's what I've always done at home, is teaching kids how not to be bullied from a very early age, and from kindergarten, teaching my daughter that whatever was a comeback. So if someone ever said something to her at 5 years old, she had something to say, whatever. Simple as that, all the way to middle school, knowing that they don't need a million friends, they don't need to follow a group, and just emphasis on all you need is a few good friends and fostering those relationships so that kids are not bullied. So kind of both sides of it, because I think, unfortunately, bullying is always going to be a part of human nature. So just dealing with fighting that only from that end is could be more effective if you kind of get the other end of how to assert yourself and not be bullied. And thank you for all.
Thank you. Vin?
No one left on the list, so if anybody else would like to.
Okay, so I'm going to need to close out public comments. I would like to make a motion to close public comments. Do I have a second? Okay, Christina, any discussion? I see none. Oh, I will, yeah, that's what, okay. So I need to close it out first, then we can discuss. So it's just the protocol. So I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Would anyone from the board or the administration like to make a comment? Aldo?
Yeah, I just, to Mr. Adley, what was the issue with the backpacks? Because I'm sorry, I just don't recall it. If you wouldn't mind just sharing.
Thank you for asking for clarification. I was here in one of the board meetings, maybe December or January, I can't remember. The point I was trying to make is my daughter is in 5th grade. Every day, her backpack is really heavy, full of stuff. I struggle just to carry it to help her put it on her back. And I keep asking her, do you need all the stuff in there? And she says, yes. And I ask her mom, and she says, yes, John, I go through it. And they ask her to bring all this, a lot of folders, a lot of material in there. I don't know if that's exclusive to my daughter or in general, and what I asked for is if somebody just looks at the kids' backpacks as they go in, and if really all this material is needed for them to carry on their backs, I think that's going to cause them some spine problems for the long term, especially with the female side. The other thing, the comment I made last time is, do you really have to carry all these books and all these folders and all these papers and all this material where countries like South Korea and Finland and all those have gone digital 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they're really ahead of us in the United States in terms of technology. So a consideration from the board into this unnecessary weight that they carry every day would be appreciated.
Thank you. Mr. Balone, question for you. My understanding is that the textbooks are available online if kids forget them. So is that the case in 5th grade as well?
They are. We can look specifically into your case. I know Dr. Hibbs he's already on it. He has notes and he's tagging us.
I already sent the email.
So we will follow up with you.
And what I think the best decision probably is, if it's okay, and I know it's not the end, but pulling the book bag and really maybe having like the counselor take a look, or someone just take a look and be like, listen, maybe you don't need this, maybe you need that. Let's just figure out what's in there and figure out why it's so heavy, and if there's anything we can do about it. I already sent the email for you. You got it, of course.
I have another question in regards to Ms. Gabazon's comment about bullying. as a counselor, I do a lot of lessons on upstanding behavior, being an upstander not only for yourself but for others. I'm assuming that is also, I've looked through the curriculum. My understanding was that it's being handled at the elementary level in Marlboro as well.
Absolutely, all the way. I would say even up to the middle school.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the work the counselors do. Mrs. Piernick, you understand what that work is, and yes, they do engage in those conversations as well, which is much needed.
Yeah. And it even comes from our peers too. I mean, the kids go in and do lessons.
That's what I thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you want to comment?
Yeah, is it okay? So,
Yeah, please.
Mr. Adley, you're all taken care of. You can expect a phone call tomorrow. A sub situation everywhere in the world is experiencing difficulty with subs. So we have seen an increase in the number of subs. We want more subs. We're going to do a lot of marketing towards what that would be, including we're going to have a huge push in town and outside of town, banners, social media campaign. Mike, we're going to have a night where we have the community come in to talk to us, him, myself, different members about what it means to be a sub in Marlboro.
April 27th.
April 27th. So information is going to go out about that, but everywhere in the world is having difficulty with subs. We have more than we did when we started, but we want to have more. That's what we want.
And Dr. Hibbs, are the administrators going to the fairs at like Kane University to find them? I think I remember approving that at the last board meeting.
We numerous fairs they go to, and we've used Indeed, we've used all kinds of different reaches as well.
Why are we still doing that if it's outsourced? I thought that they had a pool of 900 subs for us to choose from.
Well, it's not that they have a pool of 900 subs for us to choose from. There's a pool of 900 subs.
Right.
We're just simply, we're still having fail-to-fills, just like everywhere, unfortunately, in the world, but
what's our fill ratio now? This is like, it's coming as a surprise to me because I thought that by going with ESS, that that's why we were justifying the huge cost increase, was they were going to alleviate that problem. So now we're paying more, but still having the problem?
Well, we're paying more in the daily, but we're not having as many subs as we need, and we still have fail-to-fills. Yes, absolutely. I could absolutely come to the 26 with some concrete data for you. I don't have that.
Yeah,
tonight.
like the what is our fill ratio, and why are we promoting if they're,
well,
isn't that part of what they're getting paid for?
Yeah, well, they're doing it. We're partnering with them in actually having it in our building, but they're really taking care of all the materials and the advertising. Everything's really on them.
Okay, all right. Yeah, thank you, if you could.
Yeah, I'll actually come back with both what we did for media and then also some rates.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So you'll bring back something to the board.
Without a doubt.
Thank you.
On the 26th. Vin, can you actually just make sure that's a discussion point for me? Thank you.
Can I just say that I think it's great that you are doing the outreach, Dr. Hibbs and Mr. Balone, because we need to be proactive. We can't necessarily lie, and just kind of wait, right? So I commend you guys for actually taking action, because we are utilizing their service, but the more that we can do to increase people in our community to want to be subs here is, I think, really a positive step.
Yep.
And so thank you for doing that.
Yeah. If we're pulling them from town, why are, maybe we need to reconsider renewing the contract next year. I mean, it doesn't sound like, it sounds like
I think we are going to reconsider, right? We talked about getting numbers
I think
before the renewal,
right? If we go through the whole year and we're not happy with substitutes, that should 100% be reconsidered.
I'm not doubting the quality. I'm just saying, like, if we're still having a problem with the fill ratio and we're having a job fair in town to pull subs locally, why are we using a statewide agency and paying them $30 per sub?
They would be pulled to join ESS.
Right, but then they could likely go to another district, though. If we're going to pull subs locally, let's keep them local and get rid of ESS.
And just, again, for my further remembrance of the conversation, we looked at TSS coming as my understanding was, and maybe I'm wrong, but we never necessarily thought we would get to 100% fill by utilizing that service. We just were at such a low rate, we needed to get more subs. I mean, of course, we'd love to be at 100%, but I don't know that that's, I mean, I don't think, I guess my expectation wasn't that it would actually be at 100% by now, but that we would be in such a better position that we weren't paying teachers for prep time, and that would be savings to us. And I'm assuming that that's what we're going to see, but I guess we'll know that when you get the numbers.
Prep coverage is down, sub coverage is up. It's just not quite exactly where we want it to be.
and I know just with myself, like schools, like licensed school social workers, clearly a school doesn't need as many social workers as they do teachers. In the last 2 weeks, I've literally gotten a call every single day from a various agency. And yesterday, even though I explained I had a permanent position that I was happy in, they still try to talk me out of it. Like, that's how desperate the situation is, which is sad.
It's tough right now.
I'm called to sub in a classroom because there's not enough subs.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Mrs. Gabazon, you said a lot of really nice things. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We will always continue to work with those students in need. That's what we do, and we have amazing staff, amazing counselors, amazing CST, amazing gen ed psychologists. I think we dealt with that second comment, and that's it, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay. We're going to move on to closing the meeting. So in order to close the meeting, can I have a motion to go? No. Can I have a motion to close the meeting? Motion to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Jen? Can I have a second?
I second.
That's Jess. Any discussion on that? No? Okay. I see none. Everyone, have a good night, safe and healthy, and enjoy the holidays. Oh, wait. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Have a good night again.